Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I am back with the Garden Arcana hashtag. This is part 4. This tag is created by Candy Soul and Soil and Goddess Garden Tarot. So this is a VR to them. And part 4, we are focusing on the Wheel of Fortune, the Hangman, and the Injustice. 10, 12, and 11 in the Tarot Major Arcana, respectively. I didn't say them in order, that's why I said 10, 12, and 11. So let us go and find them in the foodway here at Concrete Plant Park the day before it closes. Also, July 4th, United States Independence Day, a holiday. So let's start off with number 10, the Wheel of the Year here, and I'm standing in a good spot because 2 of the plants I found associated with it are here. So right across from us are the chestnuts. We've got 2 kinds. They're currently, at the time of filming this, not at the time of you guys actually seeing it, they're flowering. Yeah, so they are flowering, but chestnuts are these like round little balls. They're nuts. And they're a little hairy, but that's one wheel association there. Like I said, we have 2 kinds. We also have these dwarf chestnut trees as well. They're just a little, I guess, smaller. The Allegheny chinkapin, and this one got knocked down at some point, so it's not doing too well. But the other thing is they're good luck, good fortune, and the Wheel of Fortune is associated with the planet Jupiter, as are chestnuts. So here's the chestnut. The other plant is goldenrod. Now again, it's not currently in bloom at the time of filming this. If you haven't watched my previous video, 2 videos or so, the foodway is closed from July 5th to September 5th. So this would have been my August video, or should be my August video. So maybe by the time we come back, there should be some blooms. They bloom later in the year anyway, but yeah. Goldenrod is also associated with Jupiter and expanded luck. We got a couple. I don't think anyone planted these. I think somehow they just grew. If I have pictures from last year, I will show you guys, because I did grab some. They're very golden in color. Gold is also considered a very knit metal, right? Gold is usually what backs our money, or at least here in the United States, it's what backs our money. So having gold is considered a sign of wealth, right? Okay, so I've shown this before, but this is a circle in the center of the garden, or center-ish. And the wheel keeps turning. I just realized I haven't been showing the cards, but so here is one. And yeah, planting, gardening, it's all about cycles. So of course the wheel continues to turn. Seasons change, the plants die, and then they grow back. We come back, we'll be back in September, so it's not the end of the world there. So the Bronx River is a offshoot of the East River here in New York. This is the only freshwater river in the city, and it goes all the way up to Valhalla, New York, outside of New York City. And it sometimes flows both ways. The East River connects out to the Atlantic Ocean, not that far from here. So we get the salt water sometimes when the river current is going upwards, like it is right now. How interesting. I did not check the flow and the tide and all of that before I came out today. So yeah, usually the river flows from north to south, and that's the fresh water from upstate coming down, emptying out into the ocean. But here the opposite is happening currently, and this happens fairly often enough. So the salt water mixing with fresh water, that eternal cycle just keeps happening. Another sign of the Wheel of Fortune. But also, next card, the Justice card. All about balance and saltwater balanced with fresh water is definitely what the Bronx River does here. That is, I don't know, just something I guess we need here, that the fish need, the birds need, the land needs. Actually in a good spot to talk about the Justice card with Concrete Plant Park. This whole park is, I guess, about justice for the local people, for the city. This used to be a concrete plant, and now it is a park with an edible food forest in it. Once upon a time, no. Several years ago, the idea of an edible food forest was put forth to the city, and there was a floating barge that was parked right here, and it was a pilot program. It had an edible food forest floating on top of it, and the local government was like, oh, we'll do this for a year or two to, make the locals happy, but we'll get rid of it shortly after and move on with our lives and put our money to more important things. However, I guess the people rallied, the locals, and they pushed for it to be permanent, and eventually a solution was found to make a portion of the park here on land the foodway. So just off the edge here, don't mind my camera work, is where this floating barge was. And these concrete structures are partially what's going to be taken down. That's why the park is closing. They are, some of them, no longer stable. But here's where the floating barge was, and no longer is, now that the foodway is permanent. The foodway is a rewilding. It's justice for the locals. The park as a whole is really, and kind of taking back the land almost in a way. I don't know if people are aware, but in New York City parks, you are not allowed to forest or wildcraft, which means taking some of the plants to eat or use as medicine or anything like that. They say it's because of pesticides, and they put rat poison and things like that, which is true and something you should be aware of and be careful of. But honestly, it stems from prejudices like racism and things like that. One of the first parks in the city was Central Park, and that was basically a park, and still is really a place for rich people to frolic and play, and a place for them to put their rich animals, exotic animals that they're not supposed to have, aka the founding of the Central Park Zoo. But I digress. It's a place for them to go and to relax, and for regular people to come into these parks and to nourish themselves or to learn, for poor people to find some other way to get food, or for non-white people to be in nature comfortably, to find some way of using nature for themselves, particularly Black and Native. That's just not what we want. So we come up with these rules well before things like pesticides and rat poison was really used. And let's not forget, it doesn't go with capitalism. Balance is also somewhat found in our foraging guidelines and our plant choices, like the pollinators for the bees and berries for the birds. Our foraging guidelines is, take enough to sustain you, but try to leave some for others, including the birds and the bees, the other animals. There are cats in here. And it's just, you don't want to take too much, especially if you don't know exactly how you're going to use these plants, and then have them go to waste. Among the plants associated with justice is this milk thistle. It has lots and lots of pokey spines which protect and attack. It also is known for being an adaptogen, helping your body protect itself and to heal itself and bring hormones back into balance. Another is plantain, and there's two types that most people see. The long, narrow ones are ribwort, and the bigger, wider ones are broadleaf plantain. And this plant is associated with the planet of Venus, which is also the planet that rules the sign of Libra, which is the sign for the Justice card. There's also lemon balm, which is a favorite of mine. Another adaptogen like the previous two. This one helps balance hormones as well. And of course there's elder, which I've talked about in a previous video. We use that to help our body's immune system stay healthy and fight off illness. Moving on to the last card, the Hanged Man. One plant that we have that is associated with it is blueberries. And the berries were not ripe at this point, but it's associated with their third eye, which the Hanged Man is as well, seeing things from a different perspective, from another dimension, maybe even. That indigo color from the blueberries definitely helps. Also, catmint or nepeta is associated with the planet of Neptune, another mint. And cats do like this, that's why it's called catmint. But yeah, the planet of Neptune is associated with the Hanged Man. As are, in general, liminal spaces and even that riverside crossroads where the various paths in the foodway meet is another liminal space. Just being here as the seasons change. Okay, guys, that is it. That was the Wheel of Fortune, Justice, and the Hanged Man in the foodway here at Concrete Plant Park. And this is the last day. It'll be open while it temporarily closes. I guess that's a hangman thing as well. We'll be hanging in the wind with no access. The foodway will be sort of, kind of in a, well, more hermit state. Hi guys, editing Lashette here to let you know the good news. The foodway is now open. At the time of my editing this, it has been open for about a week. They took down the structures they were worried about and cleaned up, and we're like, well, now that the construction phase is done, we feel it's safe for people to come back in earlier than we planned. So August 18th, they opened back up Concrete Plant Park, and we have been in there trying to tame Mother Nature a little bit, but yeah, everything looks good. So the next installment of Garden Arcana may come earlier, no guarantees, but it will not be pre-filmed like these previous three, obviously. That was the plan, and that is what is happening. Okay, everyone, once again, I started to show cards while I was going around the foodway, but didn't show the majority of them, so I'm gonna lay them out here like I did in the last video. This is a consequence of me kind of rushing to do these videos before the temporary closure, but it is what it is. So I think I showed most of the Wheel of Fortune cards, but you can see them again. You'll live. So we have the one from the Light Seers Tarot, which is very modern version of what is fortune. The flip of the chips rather than necessarily the die, though the die are here around her neck. She's going with it. she's going with it. And I like how this is more her taking the powers, like from the High Priestess and the other mages before her, to kind of find that balance there with the tree pose from yoga, on these flipping chips. So to kind of have some control over, fortune and where things land. But I think also this could be but going with the flow of it. Like, the chips land where they land, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Here we have the Simplicity Tarot, which is sort of a RWS clone, and so very similar, but in a simplified manner. Good luck and change. This is here because I don't like the Rider-Waite-Smith. The Wheel of Fortune from Llewellyn Tarot is the goddess Arianrod, and that's my woman. This spiral of the silver wheel, the triplicity going on here is different. So there's a, I guess, mothering aspect and maybe a moon aspect to this, the mystical, magical. Next, the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelations Edition, Wheel of Life it's called, and it's the Sphinx Destiny Turning. And I like how on this wheel you can see the moon phases there and the zodiacal signs on the outside, and we get the seasons. So kind of like what I was saying earlier, time changes, things turn, cycles of life, and we get the various aspects of the moon, or the crystals here on the edges, and the Sphinx in different aspects. So fitting. This, the Universal Goddess Tarot Wheel of Fortune. The wheel is, once again, Arianrod. And this wheel is more like the Wheel of Life from the Spirit Keepers Tarot there. Time moves on. Life is cycles. Last but not least, of course, we have the Wheel of Fortune from the Herb Crafters Tarot. It's the kitchen garden. So we've got chives and violets and many other things that you can use in your kitchen in that wheel. And this kind of really represented that central circle in the foodway that you saw. Next, card number 11 in most decks, but not in all, we have Justice. Starting off, because like I said, I think I showed some of these cards as well. We have the Chancellor, or Angel of Justice from the Spirit Keepers Tarot. That balance, this Justice is blind, but also carries a sword, which is swift justice. The scales, the feather versus the heart that Ma'at is weighing, kind of leaning on the judgment part of things, but that's okay. Justice from the Universal Goddess Tarot. This is actually the goddess Ma'at from Egyptian pantheon. And this deck follows the Thoth system of order, so it's not card number 11. Here it's card number 8. But for the sake of this video series, I'm following the RWS order system. And she is weighing, I believe, this man's heart against a feather. The story is that your heart has to be equal or lighter than a feather, meaning that you, the heart being the center of the soul, who you truly are, has to be in some form of good, and your heart to be light, to be able to go on in the afterlife. The Harpcrafter's Tarot card, Justice, is cannabis, which makes a lot of sense. This is a very American herbal deck. More Western American than Eastern, where I am. But cannabis and all of its byproducts has a very negative stereotype for a long time in this country, when especially most of its byproducts are not should not be judged at that level. And it is justice is slowly coming back. For example, a lot of things like hemp, which you see on here, and the medicinal uses were things that the Native Americans in various forms knew of and used, and suddenly their histories, their culture in a way was deemed illegal, and for some, their livelihoods have now been deemed illegal. And it's just like, how are you going to decide my life is wrong and illegal when there are many other much more expensive drugs out there that are being used and abused legally, and by your capitalist society. But so yeah, this fits for justice. We're there's been some small attempt at justice here with people of color and their use of cannabis, being put in jail for long periods of time for having small amounts. There's not much justice, if any at all, for the Native peoples yet. The Simplicity Tarot Justice, fairly simple. I love this card because she kind of looks like me, somewhat similar to the Chancellor there. She's holding a sword as well as the scales, and this justice is blind, like our justice system is supposedly supposed to be. But please see the cannabis card for clarification on how that is not the case. Here is justice for the Lightseer's Tarot. This card, actually, I did practice last year with this deck, and that comes with a pick your light seer and dark seer card, shadow seer card, excuse me. And this is my shadow seer card because this freaks me the hell out. But reading about it, it's like seeing the truth of yourself and not, flinching away. And guess I'm gonna have to do some shadow work on that one, which is the point of picking a shadow card and a shadow seer card and a light seer card, I think, in part. So we're leading kind of in the Odin meaning of things, which I'll get to. The Llewellyn Tarot, Hangman, the Enchantment of Dyfed. So this story is Pryderi and I think his wife. Something happens to his lands where steam, what's the word? Fog comes in and covers the land. The animals either disappear or die, and the crops fail because I guess sunlight can't get through and people can't water them and take care of them. So, like, everything's kind of frozen. So, there's one aspect of the hangman, everything being in limbo. He and his family travel to try to figure out what happens. They come across this mysterious castle with this hanging briar, which is like a fire holder thing, and he goes to touch it and basically gets stuck, frozen. Again, the another hangman aspect. His uncle, something like that, who was with him, and his wife tried to wait for him or separate him from it. They don't figure out, so they leave him. His mom finds out. Mom's Arian Rod, by the way. Not Arian Rod, sorry. Rhiannon. She finds out. She is, yells at the uncle, like, why didn't you do anything? She goes, she touches it as well and gets stuck. So that's where that story comes in. And the myth is that eventually his wife, I think, figures out that there are mice still running around and they might be the culprits. So she approaches someone else and they turn the mice into humans, or they turn off the enchantment that the person was using to hide. And this is basically a revenge story. And yeah, so they turn off the enchantment, and Pryderi and Rhiannon and their whole lands are now free of this frozen in between time. So very appropriate hangman story. Next we have the Outlaw from the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelations Edition, Sacrifice and Redemption. This guy seems like he's up there on purpose. There's a little bit of Odin with the one of his eyes being not quite eyes. There's that Neptunian influence, and he can easily free himself. So it's kind of that alternate perspective, seeing things from a different point of view, and putting yourself, I guess, in a timeout, essentially, to kind of get an intuitive look or perspective, really, just zenning out almost. The Universal Goddess Tarot, this is Frigg, and she was chosen because she's the wife of Odin, who's in the back there hanging from the tree for, I forget, was it 9 days or something like that? So she's a little worried, but she'll be okay. Honestly, I feel like this was kind of shoehorned in here, but it is what it is. Because, yeah, she has to wait, really, and I guess the waiting is, can feel like an eternity for her. The Hanged One in the Herb Crafter's Tarot is Burdock, because it kind of looks like a man, the root there, and it lets you, I guess, turn yourself off for a little bit. Last but not least, the Lightseer's Tarot, Hanged Man, another who is not trapped. They're not tied. She is purposefully hanging upside down from this swing type of thing to get another perspective, maybe connect with her crown or third eye chakra, get intuitive hits, and maybe even these runes. There are many new age healing modalities, Reiki for example, where the idea is that when you go out alone or when the creator or the founder went out alone onto a mountain and put himself in a different perspective, a white light came down and showed him these symbols, the Reiki symbols, and now he learned a innate healing modality, a way to connect with universal life energy. And I kind of see that here in a sense. So yes, that is the last card for this installment of the Garden Arcana. I will see you next month. But yeah, guys, like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. Links in the description to everything I've mentioned, including the Foodway and the Bronx River Alliance. You can find my other social media accounts if you'd like to follow me anywhere else there, as well as a link to my Etsy shop where I make all natural bath and body products, some of which has the Foodway ingredients in it. And I also offer oracle and tarot card readings. That's it for me today, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.